together the later half. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah. Om Agnyantimrandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadavaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalikta Shri Vishakham Vitamsya. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpadarubhasya kripa sindhu vaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we're going to go to the nectar of devotion, resume our journey on the nectar of devotion. In India, the Katha or the lecture is supposed to be like a journey, yatra. So the speaker always says when the lecture is over, they don't say it's finished or end. They say we'll take a rest here, Vishram. And then when they start again, they said, okay, we'll embark on the journey again. Yatra, fir se arambh. So similarly, we are going to resume our journey in Nectar of Devotion. And we are on the 22nd installment of the Nectar of Devotion. Yes, 22nd. So Nectar of Devotion is Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, in which very nice instructions and descriptions and definitions are given for the devotional service or bhakti. And it's very informative. Since we are in the process of bhakti, we should know all these terms, definitions, and the instructions to be successful in a very short while. So, the Nectar Devotion is written by one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. They were very highly educated and highly placed people in society before they gave up everything and became mendicants. And one of them, the second from the left, Srila Rupa Goswami, is the one who's written this book. So namely, there are Sanatan Goswami, Rupa Goswami, then Raghunath Das Goswami, Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, then Gopal Bhatt Goswami and Jiva Goswami. Just by taking their names, we invite auspiciousness in our consciousness and our lives. So please have a good look and pay your gratitude in your hearts. So we're going to skip the Ashtakam that we have been singing all along because we want to cover more things. And as we know, we have embarked on the study of important shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, and we are trying to attempt to memorize them. That's the best thing we can do, to memorize the shlokas by heart. So actually some of our children, including very small Rudra, know it by heart. The shloka 1 of chapter 1, Bhagavad Gita. Can anybody close his eyes and speak, or her eyes, speak quickly? Hari Bol. Very nicely and very nice pronunciation. That's the way the Bhagavad Gita is spoken, in a very poetic form. It's a song. Gita means a song. So each line is divided into 2 portions. So Dharam Kshetre Kurukshetre. Then there is a pause. Samaveta Yujusavaha. The ha should be spoken as Mataji spoke. Then the second line. Mamakaha Pandavaschaiva. Then again there is a pause. Kim Akurvata Sanjaya. Very nice, Mataji. Thank you. All of us should memorize this shloka by heart. So we're going to have another shloka that we did last time, and we'll see if somebody has memorized it by heart. And then there'll be new shloka at the end. In the meantime, we're going to revise what we studied in the last chapter. So when we revise the previous chapter, children, this is very important technique. So when you are studying, you read one chapter, next day you go to the next chapter. Always go back and quickly revise the first chapter that you studied day before. That will increase your retention power. Do you do that, or something new? It's very powerful. You should try it. Especially not things like mathematics but anything else. Especially things that are to be memorized. Better go back, revise. Then when you go to the third chapter, revise the first 2, then go to the third. Quick revision. That's good. So we studied about Archana. Archana is offering the services to Krishna on the altar and their various paraphernalia. We talked about 7 paraphernalia and the order in which it is performed. And we all saw this thing in practical by Sanjay Prabhuji performing the Aarti. So that's the Archana. Then rendering services to the Lord. Any service you perform, you clean the altar, you cook, you clean the temple, you come and set up the things, and after the lecture you clean up. That's all services to the Lord. These are not menial services. All these services are for Krishna. Then we heard about singing, that we should sing, like we all just sang the Kirtan, and then we sang the Narasimha Dev prayers. So that's very highly recommended. Then Sankirtan, we know the definition of Sankirtan. Anybody? What's the definition of Sankirtan? Congregation chanting or chanting loudly. So whenever you're chanting loudly, it is also Sankirtan. When you chant together in a congregation, that is Sankirtan. So whatever we did is Sankirtan. And that is the most powerful. If you chant individually, it's good. But when you chant collectively, it's even more amplified. And we heard that the chanting is of three kinds. Chanting is called japa. One is when you chant the mantra and only you can hear. Then when you chant loudly, everybody around you can hear, including the plants, animals. The whole atmosphere gets purified. And then there is a third kind which is done in the mind. That is not recommended. That's for very advanced devotees. Because when we are chanting in the mind, our mind will wander. No question about it. So that's not recommended for devotees like us. Then we heard about submission. That means submitting ourselves to the Lord. Reciting notable prayers, we should make an attempt to read and recite the prayers. There are hundreds of prayers in Bhagavatam, and there is prayers even in Bhagavad Gita. When Krishna assumes the Virat Roop, and Arjuna is terrified looking at that form of Krishna, and then he prays to him to come back to his original position of Sham Sundara. And that's a beautiful prayer. And then, of course, Bhagavatam has so many prayers. Then as we talk about partaking of prasad, prasad is a very powerful process in which right from the time we get the ingredients, we have to have pure consciousness that we are going to prepare bhoga for Krishna. So from the time we get the ingredients to be clean and we cook and then we offer to the Lord and then whatever is remaining we eat. So it has a very purifying effect. It's even more than people say you are what you eat. It goes more beyond that. There is a science behind it. So you can see how the Vedic culture is so advanced. And drinking the Charanamrit when we perform Abhishekam for the deity, that nectar that is collected as we did in Gaur Purnima and all, Prakash Prabhu arranged it very nicely and we all drink that Charanamrit. That is also very potent, spiritualized drinking material. Then is smelling of the incense and flowers offered to the deity. And that's also we see practically. After we offer the flowers, we take it around to smell. Everybody should smell. That also has a lot of purifying effect on our consciousness. And I cited the example of 4 Kumaras. The 4 Kumaras who never grew up, they still remain as babies, toddlers. And they were Mayavadis, meaning they did not believe in the personal form of the Lord. So then one day when they were passing by a temple, they got the smell of tulsi and the flowers and the incense that was being offered to the Lord, and they became pure devotees. Then touching of the deity, we mentioned that one is not supposed to touch the deity when you go to the temple. Especially, the priest will not let you go inside the altar. Only the second initiated devotees can go onto the altar. And if you have your personal altar, you can touch the deity, but it's always best to touch the feet or the ground in front of the deity's feet, that one should touch in a very humble mood. And then we also talked about seeing the deity. When you go into the temple, when you enter the altar, don't straight away look into the face of the deity. That's supposed to be offensive. Always we first look at the feet of the Lord and then slowly raise our gaze to the legs and then the body and then finally in the face. And that's the right way of taking darshana in the temple. Observing Aarti and celebration of the Lord. That also we discussed that whenever the Aarti is going on, we should perform and participate in the Aarti. And any celebration that's going on, whether it is Rath Yatra or Dasera or Govardhan Puja, any celebration that is going, we should enthusiastically participate, serve, try to do some service, not just come to, be part, but also serve and help the devotees arrange those festivals, dress up nicely, and be in a very joyful mood. That is instruction for the celebrations. So now we come to the second shloka that we learnt and we recited last time, and we were supposed to memorize it. Was anybody able to memorize? This is shloka 12 from chapter 2. Okay, go ahead. Yes. It's good, but we are supposed to memorize it. So please follow after me. Natu evaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadhipaha na chaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayamta ataha param. Once more. Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadhipaha na chaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve ataha param. Somebody else wants to recite? Prakash Prabhu. Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadhipaha na chaiva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayamata param. Thank you, very nice. So now we come to the today's lecture. So that was the revision for the last lecture. So then we come to the hearing and remembering Krishna. These are very important instructions, so listen carefully. Hearing is, in the Garuda Puran, we heard the Garuda Puran, the stress is given on the hearing and is very nicely explained. The state of conditioned life in the material world is just like that of a man lying unconscious. So if a person is not in Krishna consciousness, he is supposed to be unconscious. That's the statement from the Garuda Puran. Just like somebody who's been bitten by a snake. So if you have seen somebody who gets bitten by this snake, they become unconscious. They fall down and they have froth coming from their mouth. And, they're on the verge of dying. So that's the description given for a person who has not heard about Krishna and doesn't think about Krishna. He is unconscious. Although he is living and moving and doing everything, but spiritually he is in a comatose condition. Comatose is when you have no consciousness. So anyone who is in the material world is also sleeping, as he is ignorant of his actual self or his actual duties and his relationship with God. So when you are sleeping, you don't know who you are or what your relationship is with the surroundings. So that's the analogy given by Garuda Puran to a person who is not aware of Krishna and his relationship with Krishna. And what is our relationship with Krishna? We are the eternal servitors of Krishna. He is the supreme master. So materialistic life means that one is bitten by a snake of Maya. And what is the meaning of Maya? Maya is described by Prabhupada is not exactly illusion. Maya is which is temporary, Maya, which is not permanent. So anything in the material world is non-permanent. So our bodies are not permanent, even the buildings, other things are not permanent. Even the continents, will change over millions of years, they change, and everything changes. And then at the end of the creation, Pralaya, everything is destroyed again. So nothing is constant or permanent. So that's why it's called Maya. Whereas in spiritual sky, everything is permanent and there is no time factor. The time factor does not work in spiritual sky. So such kind of materialistic person is described as bitten by Maya, or the snake of illusion, and is almost dead. So we should always make it a point to hear the glories of Krishna, his pastimes, his qualities, and to know Krishna as a very intimate friend or parent or lover or master. So whatever the 5 rasas that we describe, whatever relationship we can develop with Krishna, we should endeavor to do that. So in the 14th chapter of the 10th canto in Bhagavatam, it is written that, my dear Lord, any person who is constantly awaiting your causeless mercy to be bestowed upon him, and who goes on suffering the resultant action of his past misdeeds, offering you respectful obeisances from the core of his heart, is surely eligible to become liberated, for it has become his rightful claim. So this is a very powerful statement from Bhagavatam. So let's meditate on it for a minute, what it means. The meaning here is, when we come to Krishna consciousness, in the beginning, we think just by coming to Krishna consciousness, all our material suffering will go away. But that's not the truth. And then people start thinking, oh, if I am doing so much of devotional service, I am, doing arti, I am doing all these services, and still I am suffering in this material world, then what's the use of doing bhakti, right? So the instruction here is that one has to undergo the reactions of his karmas that were done in the previous life, this life, and the lives before. So you cannot just make everything zero just by doing little bit of service. So the real consciousness is that we have to keep performing our duties of devotional service, thinking that whatever is coming to me is the will of the Lord and my own karmas that are coming to me. And we have to keep perfecting our life in a very sincere way. So that is the correct understanding. And slowly, as one progresses on the devotional service, his karmas will be neutralized by Krishna. Krishna himself gives a promise in Bhagavad Gita, in the chapter 18th, that whoever takes his shelter, all his sinful reactions will be gone. But it is going to take a time till we purify ourselves. So we have to stick to the process and try to enter the kingdom of God. So here very nice word is given by Srila Rupa Goswami. It's called Dai Bhak. It's not Daya, it's Dai Bhak. Dai Bhak means, he describes it that similar to the inheriting the property of the father. So when the father passes away, the property automatically goes to the son. So similarly, if we accept Krishna as our father, the supreme father, and serve him, so Krishna will give us his inheritance. He is not going to pass away though, but he's going to give us his inheritance, means he's going to invite us into his kingdom, which is Golok Vrindavan. This statement is from Srimad Bhagavatam. Then we come to remembrance. So when we hear about Krishna, we hear about Krishna Katha, various leelas, various pastimes, his glories, his qualities, right? They are always Nitya Leela, they are always fresh. Right? Whenever you hear Krishna Katha. So when we hear that Krishna Katha, should not be like we hear from this side and we take out from the other side. We should always remember it, always meditate it. Whenever we get time, from our materialistic activities, our mind should straight away go back to Krishna. And that is remembrance. And that is also a very powerful process, and we have to practice it. So, the prime example of remembering Krishna always is given of Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj was always thinking of Krishna whenever he was put in so many difficulties. We're going to hear about it next month in Narasimhadev Jayanti. So he was always thinking of Krishna. So he's the example of that kind of process. So what is the real understanding of remembering? It is said that just by simply remembering the Lord, one becomes eligible for all kinds of auspiciousness. In the Padma Purana, the same remembrance is explained as follows. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Krishna, because if someone remembers him, either at the time of death or during his span of life, he becomes freed from all sinful reactions. And same thing is said in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 8, Attaining the Supreme. Krishna says that whoever at the end of the life remembers me surely comes to me. Now here we have to understand that Krishna is clearly telling, he is not hesitating, he is not telling, remember my father or remember my mother. He is telling me, remember me. Because he is the Supreme Lord. He doesn't have to refer to anybody else. He says, whoever remembers me at the time of death surely comes to me. So that's the promise of Krishna, and straight coming from none other than Shri Krishna. So next is meditation. Meditation is a very strong tool in devotional service. But we have to have the right understanding of meditation. So when we think of meditation, and before coming to Krishna consciousness, I also was delving into meditation. It's very fashionable, yoga and meditation. But there is not complete understanding. So when people talk of yoga, they think of yoga as assuming, difficult postures, twisting your body or your, limbs and trying to attain very difficult positions. So they think that is yoga, or try to breathe heavy and all those things. But that is not the full meaning of. That is only one segment of the yoga. Yoga means to unite. Unite with who? Unite with Krishna. So that kind of yoga, the Ashtanga yoga, is actually meant for making us physically fit and strong, so then we can devote or perform the devotional service in a better way. Because if our body is not healthy and strong, we cannot do anything properly. We all know that, right? When we are sick, we cannot even chant. So that's the real understanding of the asanas or the postures or the pranayama in the yoga. Similarly, for meditation, I was taught when I was doing meditation that you sit down in a lotus position, Padma Asana, and you close your eyes and then make your mind blank, right? Prabhupada said this is the best technique to go to sleep. Try it, and I tried it many times. Many times I fell asleep. So that is not, actually the Buddhists do that kind of yoga. It's called the Yen meditation. And they really make their mind blank and they go into samadhi sort of a thing. They do it. But very few can go to that level. It takes a lot of control. And what they attain is the Brahma Jyoti. They go into that blank space between the spiritual sky and the material sky. That blank space which is full of light is called the Brahma Jyoti. So the real understanding of meditation, and it's also given in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam and other scriptures, the best way or the only way for meditation is when we meditate on the form or the pastimes of the Lord. That's what the real yogis do. So in the Narsimha Purana, there is a statement about meditation on the form of the Lord. So when we close our eyes, we should try to endeavor to look at Krishna through our consciousness, through our mind, not through the material eyes, and meditate on that form. And surely in a short time, Krishna will reveal himself to you. But this kind of meditation was very effective in the Satya Yuga. The yogis will sit for thousands of years and meditate. But in the Kali Yuga, it's not that effective. What is effective in Kali Yuga? Harinam Sankirtan, Maha Mantra, Japa. And that also, when we do Japa, we are supposed to bring our mind to the Shyam Sundar, to his names, and concentrate and just be hearing the name and speaking the name. And that's the process of going into meditation. So Japa is also a form of meditation. Okay, here is very interesting story that is cited by Srila Rupa Goswami, that there was this story is from Brahma Vaivarta Purana. There was a city in South India called Pratishthanapur, and there was a poor Brahman. He was very poor, so he did not have any money or means to offer, the services to the Lord. Bring a nice deity, spend money on putting nice garments and ornaments, and they put a lot of incense, and offering flowers and garlands and all those things, and then cooking elaborate chappan bhogas and offering to the Lord. He had no money. He could not do any of those things. So one time he was listening to a lecture, Krishna Katha. So in the lecture, the speaker was saying that in our scriptures, it is not a zero and none and zero game. There are alternatives. Like in, Garuda Purana we heard the various things, that if you have 4 sons, then the eldest son performs the puja. If you have no son, then the daughter can perform the puja. If you don't even have a daughter, then somebody else can. So there is always alternatives. So that speaker was telling that if you do not have anything to offer, in substance, you can just close your eyes and meditate and try to offer that, whatever you want to offer to the Lord in your mind. So the Brahmana was very happy after that. He found his, way. Because till now he could not do anything. He was just watching helplessly other people performing, these kind of things. So he starts to meditate, and he meditates in a very elaborate way. How elaborate? He gets up early morning at 3:30, and he has a bath in a small pond, but he imagines he is going to Ganga, taking a dip. Then he's going to Kaveri, he's taking a dip. Then he's going to Indus River, he's taking a dip. Goes to all those, rivers that we invoke when we do the offering. And he's taking bath in all those rivers. And then he comes back, he puts on yellow dhoti and he puts tilak and all the 12 places. And so very elaborately, then he offers the best of the flowers, very nicely fragrant flowers and garlands and this. And then he even offers gold. Then he goes to the river again, carrying the pots of gold and silver, fills them with water and does abhishekam for the Lord. So very elaborate. And then he goes, then he wants to cook. So he cooks. So every day he's doing like this. So one day he put something on the fire to cook, and he forgot. So after a little while he came. He's still imagining. He doesn't have a fire cooker or any pot to cook. He's cooking in his mind. So he says, oh, it's been a long time, I did not check. So let me check if the food is cooked. So he puts his hand on like this, and suddenly his hand is burnt. So he jumps up. opens his eyes and sees his hand is really burnt. And he's surprised. So at the same time, in Vaikuntha, Lord Vishnu is sitting with Lakshmi and he smiles. So Lakshmi is, doing the Path Sevana, and she says, "Oh my Lord, why are you smiling? What happened?" So he says, then he describes what happened. So then he sends his dutas, Vishnu dutas, in a viman, and then he says, "Oh, go and bring that Brahmana." So that Brahma is then brought to Vaikuntha, because Mother Lakshmi does not believe the Lord that this really happened. So they bring him, and then Lord says to Brahmana, "Tell what happened." So then he describes himself. And then, of course, he is liberated. He has come to Vaikuntha now. So this is the meditation, that you can really do miracles by meditating on the Lord. And that's the proper way of meditating. Okay, now we come to the new shloka to read and memorize. Actually, our children, not even Yuva, the children like Surabhi knows this shloka by heart now. Because they are ahead of us. They started earlier. So they are already... So Rudra knows the first shloka, and then Surabhi knows this shloka. So we're going to read this shloka. I'll read it first, and then we can read together, then one by one. Dehino asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantra praptir dhirastatra na muhyati. Dehino asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara तथा देहांतरा प्राप्तिर धीरास्तत्र न मुह्यति. We'll make it more poetic now. Dehino asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara तथा देहांतरा प्राप्तिर धीरास्तत्र न मुह्यति. Dulari Mata, you are up next. Dehino asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara तथा देहांतरा प्राप्तिर धीरास्तत्र न मुह्यति. This for Praveen Prabhu. Dehino asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara तथा देहांतर प्राप्तिर धीरास्तत्र न मुह्यति. Excellent, Prabhu. Very nice. So, anybody else wants to read English or Devanagari? Mrs. Das? मुश्किल है? नहीं, बहुत अच्छा है. ये सुरभि बोलती है. हाँ, बहुत अच्छा बोलती है. आपने, हाँ, आप एक एक वर्ड बोल सकते हैं. देहिनो अस्मिन, देहिनो अस्मिन यथा देहे कौमारम यौवनम जरा तथा देहांतरा प्राप्तिर धीरास्तत्र न मुह्यति. So it's very simple. If you know Hindi a little bit, you can make out. De means body, right? And Komaram is young, very young. Yavnam is youth. Jara is old. Tatha Dehantra. Yes, Antra means change. Like the body changes from childhood to adulthood to old age. Similarly, the soul passes from one body to the other body. And Dhiras are the one who are sober. They do not get disturbed. Very easy to remember. So we're going to read the meanings. Dehinaha of the embodied. Asmin in this. Yatha as. Dehe in the body. Kaumaram boyhood. Yavanam youth. Jara old age. Tatha similarly. Deha antra of transference of the body. Praptihi achievement. Dhiraha the sober. Tatra thereupon. Na never. Muhyati is deluded. So it's a very important shloka from chapter 2. So now in the first shloka, Krishna told him that neither you nor me nor all these kings were ever not present. And in future, there will be no time when they will not be present. And right now they are all present there, right in front of Arjuna. So he is building up the concept of soul or Atma. So now he comes here, now he tells him, like body changes from boyhood to adult to old. Similarly, the soul changes bodies. So we keep changing. So I sent some pictures to some of my friends. So that was like few years ago, now we have changed. And then if you see your picture of your childhood, we happen to see one picture of Amit on Facebook when he was young. So we all say, oh, he's like a baby. So looking at that picture and looking at the picture of bodies now, they have changed so much. So where is that body gone? It's gone forever. It's not going to come back. So we don't lament though, we feel that we should be young again, but there is no way of going back. So the sober person knows that you should not be lamenting on these things because they keep changing. The bodies keep changing and the body themselves change when the soul travels. So that's the meaning of this shloka. In a very simplified version, we're going to study Bhagavad Gita after we finish Nectar of Devotion, but this is just a prelude for practice, how to pronounce, and also for tomorrow when we read Bhagavad Gita, we should be, very easy, or at least at ease to read Bhagavad Gita tomorrow. So thank you very much. Any questions or comments? When they write in Devanagari, they combined many words together. It's called Sandhi, means joining. So in there, Dehino, Asmin, Yatha, 3 words are combined. Dehino, Asmin, Yatha. Similarly, Dehantar, Praptir, Dhira, Tatra. 4 words are combined. So because it's Dhiraha, the aha becomes sa. So there is a very nice grammar rules in Sanskritam that they follow. And also, when the ma comes in the end, it's actually like we saw in the first shloka, when it says mamakaha pandavascheva kim akurvat. It's not kim, some people say kim kurvat. It's kim akurvat. There is a hidden in that kim akurvat, when there's a ma. So the letters are to be spoken like, some people say, why we say Rama or Krishna? Because unless you say Krishna, it's not a full na. Because in Sanskrit there are half letters also, there is a stroke at the bottom. So that is na. But when there is no stroke, it's na. So similarly, Ma. It's not Ma, it's not Rama, it's Rama. Krishna. It's not Krishna. Because there are some ladies who are named Krishna. Huh? Yes. So, in that there is a matra in the end. So, yeah, there are the rules if you want to learn Devanagari is also nice. Actually, it's more fun reading in Devanagari than reading in Roman script. So please join tomorrow, and Sanjay Prabhuji and Praveen Prabhuji are going to make nice Ayurvedic chai for all of you. So we can do 10-15 minutes kirtan if you want to do. We finish.